Good afternoon. Welcome to Elevate Chat with Kent Beam of 9 Business Group and Mike. Mike with Sunco Communication Installation. Mike, please introduce yourself and please give us a shameless plug for what is Sunco, what you guys do, and what makes you guys awesome.
Yeah, thanks, Kent. Appreciate your time today. So as you mentioned, my name is Mike Schoenberger. I'm the CEO and founder of Sunco Communication and Installation Limited. We've been in business for 22 years, and our passion, I guess, is to make business communications easier for our clients as their trusted systems integrator. And really what that means is all businesses need to communicate via internet, via phone lines, via VoIP systems, via, managing security and firewalls and all that kind of stuff. So we are a partner of choice. We like to say we deliver quality, personal touch, and user knowledge and experience to create customized packages for businesses that just want to focus on what they do, sell the grommet, sell the service, sell whatever they do, and focus on theirs. And they need somebody to help them make sure their communications are running smoothly. And that's what we do.
Excellent. That sounds fun. That is a very concise message. I can ask a quick question. How much marketing have you been learning? I mean, is that your messaging over the years of harnessing it, or is that just with what you learned in the marketing teams you've hired? Because it was perfect.
It's really a combination of, being in the industry a very, very long time. We're super passionate about what we do and how we do it. And we run a system called EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System by Gino Wickman, based book called Traction. And they really help you get laser focused on what is your vision, what is your values, what is your target market, how do you position yourself? So you really get a great understanding on who do you want to be when you grow up, and what customers do you want to attract to you as an organization. So once you figure out that, the story that you tell is way easier because you've now alignment with who you want to be.
So for you, it's much more than a marketing message. With what you've learned, what you've put into your business, it's about aligning the vision of the company, not with just the marketing message to get clients, but how you integrate it with all of your team members.
Yeah, 100%. We're a values-based, values-driven organization. Our values are, we bring out the best in each other. We embrace change. We do what it takes. We do the right thing, and we're accountable to the outcome. And lots of people say, oh, those sound kind of similar, but it's the power of doing them all together. And we hire on our values. We release to the workforce if there's, a non-alignment to our values. When we're adding new products and services, they align with our values of, being that trusted systems integrator and making business communications easier for our clients. So it's all kind of a package that kind of meshes together to tell a story. And, that's helped us a lot in our success. I was just looking the other day, we started running EOS 5 years ago, and we've grown 400% since that time.
And so did you use I think the word is implementer, an outside person to come in and help with it, or something that you learned on your own and used your team and brought them through it?
Yeah, so we did use an implementer. We tried to self-implement reading the book, and then humanality came into the picture, meaning what we try to do is humans we don't like change, right? Especially when we're type A business owners. So we manipulate what somebody tells us to our own purpose and say, oh yeah, they don't know what they're doing. I'm just going to add this, this, and this. And it worked okay. But having the implementer and understanding that if we use it the way the system was designed, it was designed that way on purpose. So if we stay true to it, we'll have way more success. And that's what the implementer brought to us. So we had an implementer, Ted Bradshaw, for 2 years. He's out of Edmonton here, and he was phenomenal. He still facilitates our annual meetings. We have a 2-day annual, and he still facilitates those meetings to this day.
So how much, as a result of EOS, how much different is your vision today than when you started? What was the original vision? I mean, I love the startup of all the vision of entrepreneurs when we started. Is like, I'm going to go do this, and somewhere it goes from being this big to this big to this big. So can you remember your first thought when you went into business and why and what the original vision was?
Yeah, that's a great question, Kent. So, the company started in 2000, August 31st or September 1st, 2000. But really, it started 13 years before that when I got out of high school and didn't know what to do. And my dad's like, "Hey, you're coming to work for me." And his company was Paul's Electrical Services. And, he contracted to a large telecommunications company right at a time that the telecommunications market was deregulated. So it was perfect, kind of like the perfect storm. He did a little bit of extra effort and got this big contract. And so at the time, it was just, hey, we're just going to help be their major contractor. And we did that for, from 1987 to 2000, and had a successful little contracting business. But that's all it was we get given the work, we do the work, and we do a good job, and we maybe help train their employees, and we maybe install some systems, but we're essentially, you do this, we'll pay you for that. And then when my dad retired and we bought the company, my wife and I bought Sunco, which was essentially a truck, and there was 3 employees at the time. That's when we started to say, hey, maybe there's more. And that's when I started to see a vision for something that could be bigger. I, started doing sales myself. So then I started doing contract sales and selling a system and then installing it and then having a team sell it. And then it morphed out into Sunco carrying its own products and services and going from working in a basement, with my wife doing the bookkeeping and the website and to having a storage unit, then to building out an office, and then busting out the seams, going from 5 people to 10 to 15 to 20 and to now 35. So the vision kind of changed as we went. And some of the last piece to that, before I get to your, let you get your next question, was we also had the capability to understand as we grew, we couldn't know everything that was going on. When you're small, every single deal about, every problem, everything you would have your fingers into and wear many different hats. And then we noticed that you get to a certain size and you can no longer do that. And then we saw the industry change from one time to reoccurring revenue, and we had to change with it. So there's a whole bunch tied into that. So I'll pause now and let you.
Thank you. I've met hundreds, if not thousands, of business owners. Probably met 100 business owners in the space of telecom, and they usually one of 2 sizes. There's like 1 or 2 self-employed people, or they're big company like bigger companies like yours. What was the biggest challenge in scaling to go from kind of that 3-person shop to now the shop you are today with the number of employees you have?
Yeah, so the biggest challenge was just figuring out how to do it cost effectively. And it's businesses like you try to do everything yourself and then learning that you can't and hiring people smarter than you. So, we had great growth, probably 20% growth year over year but it got to a point where we kind of hit that ceiling of business and we couldn't do it anymore. And that's where we, found EOS and that helped us, break beyond that. But I think in order to grow beyond that 1 or 2 person shop, it's that realization that if I'm the owner or the key hat wearer, I can't do it all. And I need to add people to do the billing, to do sales, to do the installations. And even though I'm really good at something, maybe I'm really good at selling, or maybe I'm really good at installing, I need to step out of that and let somebody else do that so I can step in where I'm needed more.
Fascinating. What was the journey through COVID in the communication space? I think I got the answer, but I'll let you tell the story and what did you take from it? And I asked the question for a couple of reasons. I think as a business guy for 15 years, I've seen at least 3 major economic swings in 15 years. And somehow I think we're going to see another one sometime in the not too distant future. So what do we learn from this one, I think, is more the question, and how do we prepare for what's coming next? What can you share with the audience about your journey through economic swings up to and including COVID, if you wish?
Yeah, it's a loaded question. There's lots to it and can go many different ways. So I'm going to take the tack, first of all, of how it impacted our business. And actually the telecommunications industry as a whole. So prior to COVID-19, what we're doing today on a Zoom call, a video conference, was almost non-existent. We tried to sell video conferencing as a way to save money traveling and hey, you can do all this and it's efficient and why would you do that? And nobody would buy it. The adoption rate was like 0. And then almost overnight, it goes from being a product that's never used to essential in everybody's daily life. And it transformed not only with the way the telecommunications market, but the way the business world thinks, works, and acts. And so when you get, a change of that magnitude, it's hard to sometimes pivot with that. So, and then we've got a lot more competitors in the market, like Microsoft, because everything is all in one product. You can get Microsoft Teams, and then they'll start doing voice, and then, Zoom and Zoom phones. So there's a lot more competition in the market. So I'll finish off the statement to say, how did it help us? It helped us in the fact that it challenged people to embrace technology in a much stronger way. And then us, because of our uniques of delivering quality, using our knowledge and experience and our personal touch, that's where we resonate with customers going, holy crap, this technology, it's really hard to manage. It's really hard to report. I don't know what our people are doing, where and when, and I need some help. And I don't want to use a self-service portal. So it helped us really become laser focused on the type of customers we want to attract.
What's really interesting for me, kind of to expand on that, is I entered the professional workplace in 97 with Imperial Oil, and I think in 98 I started from a home office. So in a 10-year career, I literally spent 8 of them in a remote type environment from 97 to 2007. And I laugh because I'd always been on my own, despite working for a company with 4,000, 5,000 employees. And to your point of, we had access to technology for years, whether it be Skype, different types of video conferencing calls. And I think that COVID impact, it forced change where it wasn't acceptable before. And the one that sticks out is, I think it was July, August, it was summer of 2020. And we were doing our personal healthcare spending accounts for our business and getting caught up, and had the typical box of papers. And I went to drop them off at the office, but the office now was a lady's house and she was going to do it from home. And so we're just chatting over the fence. And as I'm dropping off the package, and the lady's probably 65, 60, somewhere in that age. And I kind of said, how do you like working from home? She goes, I love it. Because I'm kind of a curious guy. I'm kind of asking about culture and fit and all stuff. She goes, I go, you ever going back? She goes, not a chance. I said, come on, right? We've had this technology to work from home for years. And she goes, yes, but I know what it's like now and I'm not scared. And I think it forced that change, and it helped people become, because there was no other option, I either don't have a job or I have to work from home. And all of a sudden there's like, oh, it's not so hard. But even that demographic of people who now accept the change, it's been there the whole time. So it's been fun watching people just sort of step into that uncomfortableness, if you will, and just navigating it. So thank you for supporting those changes, because I mean, even now the people I talk to, am I 100% great on Zoom? I have a love-hate relationship. You're in Edmonton, I'm in Calgary, and I'd much rather do this in person. But if we're doing it in person, how much gear do I have to bring to have a video camera and actually do it quasi-professionally? Whereas 2 simple cameras talking, we get a nice clean image. So it is pretty spectacular that way. In some of the preliminary chats we've had, you mentioned that you've worked with and had outside, you mentioned EOS and implementer, those sorts of things. When was the first time you interacted with a coach or outside advisor, mentor in your business, and what impact was there?
Great question, Kent. So mentorship started for me, really young, because my dad was I classified him as a coach and mentor. He owned a business of 300 employees. And during the downturn in the economy in, the late 80s, they had to shut it down. So, he had the experience of, managing payroll and going through becoming a union and growing and scaling from small and doing low margin jobs. And so I had the benefit of having one of the best mentors in the world, my father, right side by side for 14 years. And that opened me up to the idea of listening and learning, and then doing the rinse, wash, and repeat, but taking what somebody did and making it my own. then, I've had a number of mentors through, my sales career and people that I worked for that, helped guide me and coach me. Even though I didn't know at the time it was coaching, it ended up being coaching on, how to sell, how to coach, who I looked up to, and then they would share some of their secrets. And, being open to that ability to hear what people have to say and offer and listen to a different perspective other than my own to make my own perspective clearer and create some grounding and focus. But it really amped up for me 4 years ago when I joined EO, the Entrepreneurs Organization, which is a peer-to-peer leadership organization that's worldwide. So they have chapters in pretty much every city. And essentially you have to have business owners. There's qualification that you have to meet. You have to own minimum 25% of your business. They get together once a month and then talk about challenges that we're going through and ways to work through it through experience share. So it's not, pity parties. It's not advice giving. It's all learning from real world experience and then coaching and being coached. So they teach you how to, you get training on how to be a good coach and how to coach each other through, discovering why our issues are our issues. Why is that a big deal to me? And then getting to the root cause so that I can get some clarity on what my next steps are to solve the particular problem that I bring to the group. And, so that was the base benefit of EO. And then it led me to a path of leadership. I'm on the board of EO now. And I'm going into my second year of the board and, love it so much that I've joined the regional board for Canada. And then also with students and, that's the last piece I guess I'll mention with relating to EO is the Global Student Entrepreneur Awards, where EO sponsors. They have a $50,000 contest that is global that student entrepreneurs can apply for. They do pitch competitions, they get mentorship, and then if they win, it helps get their company off the ground and they get some cash. So it's setting the stage for future entrepreneurs. As well as I'm my role this year in the board is the accelerator chair, and accelerator is, businesses that are $250,000 US and above that are stuck in the weeds, like we were talking about with myself personally, that wearing far too many hats, stuck in the business, want to work on the business, want to scale and grow the business, but just don't know how. So EO has created an accelerator organization designed with coaches and with specific days to help accelerate and get them to that level of being able to join EO or just accelerate their businesses to $1 million and beyond.
So what would be, when you look back, or I guess maybe looking ahead, because in doing these interviews, my personal story, when I started coaching in 2007, if I made 100 phone calls and talked to 100 people, maybe one had heard of the term coaching. There's definitely been business coaching. There's definitely been a lot push, whether it be Action Coach, the different brands, Michael Gerber, eMyth, over the last decade and a half, 2 decades. Have you seen a difference in the market with business owners being more receptive to coaching? Have you seen coaching more prominent? And if so, why?
Yeah, so, the latter of what you said, that, business owners, at least in the realm, the world that I'm connected to, are open to coaching. And I think it's becoming, having a mentor or a coach or personal development is becoming second nature to people. They're hearing about it. It's being talked about more because of all those groups. It's not a foreign thing anymore. It's not, like I'm going to high school and I need a coach to help me. It's we're all human beings and we all make decisions based on emotions, and we make decisions based on the facts we know it. And sometimes there's a better way of doing it. And what a coach does is helps you gain a different perspective, listens to what you say and maybe repeats it back to you in a different way to give you that mind shift, that different perspective, a different view on the situation, and takes the answer that you already have within you, but validates it for you. So there's so many different benefits of coaching. So to answer your question, yeah, I would say that any entrepreneur that wants to grow and scale their business, coaching is for them. And it's, there's so much value in coaching and also being coached. You talked, I asked a question to you. I know this is your interview, but I know I've done some coaching myself, and I get as fired up by coaching and seeing the results that come out of that coaching as the act of coaching itself. So, I'll pass that question back to you.
It is. I think if you would, so I mean, I'm a numbers guy. I got a business degree. I entered the world of business coaching to change the financial components of a business. But looking back, where I get the most joy and fun is I love changing how people think. And it's in a fundamental level where changing what they think is possible, changing what they think they can do, and moving away from being stuck to openness. And whether it be marketing or leadership or having difficult conversations. I was on the phone with a client just a couple hours ago, and he was having some challenges with one of his marketing service provider. And I kind of looked at him, I said, it was like the third time in the last 5 or 6 months where this behavior pattern has shown up. And he was really open about it. And I was really proud of him because it was just, he'd recognized the behavior in himself before, but he has never understood how that behavior was getting in his way. And so helping people understand where their strengths are, but maybe where their behavior pattern is getting in the way, and then helping them see where that behavior pattern is costing them, either in relationships, financial gain for the business, team development, pick one. So that's, if you would have told me that 15 years ago, I never would have entered the world of business coaching, because business coaching for me has always been about the numbers, taking a business from 300,000 to 3 million, taking a business from 5 million to 10 million to 100 million. But watching people change, it's invigorating. It's just so much fun. You mentioned EO and the structure of the peer-to-peer program. Other than the business change, why do you like the peer-to-peer program? Getting in a room with 8, 9, 10 other business owners on a regular basis sounds much different than a one-to-one coaching program.
Yeah, it's just the way that EO is designed, and lots of peer-to-peer learning. There's Tech, there's McKay, there's a whole bunch of different ones that create a similar type of environment. They have a non-advice giving, so you do experience sharing. So you're coming from shared experience, and if you don't have like I didn't make payroll, or you have this crazy scenario and somebody in the group hasn't had that experience, I can say, I felt like a failure as a boss. That, luckily I've never had the problem of not making payroll. I'll just, clarify that. But, it's just a super intense experience, but I feel like I'm letting my people down, or like I'm a failure, or what are the emotions behind it? So you either can get a shared experience on a time, hey, when I felt like a failure when, my son, didn't make a tryout to a hockey team, and I wasn't a good coach. I didn't support him very well. So what I did is I took my son out front and I practiced hockey with him every single day for 3 weeks, and his next tryout, he made it. So even though I didn't have a relative, I had an experience share about a time I felt failure, right? So there's the experience shares and non-advice giving. And the reason for the no advice giving is you tell me your story and I'm only hearing half of it, and I'm giving you advice on the half I give. And if it doesn't work out, then you have somebody to blame. Whereas if you make your own choices and I tell you what I tried and you go, hey, I might try that, then you're taking full responsibility for your actions. The other thing is there's no judgment. And so you create an a trust, a level of trust. The coolest thing is I've been to EO events right across Canada and into the US and met people from EO members from around the world. And you can have a conversation with any EO member, regardless of the chapter, regardless of where they are, and have an in-depth, meaningful conversation in under 10 minutes. Right? Just because there's the trust and respect, which is one of the core values of EO. And it just builds a foundation that if we lead it back to coaching, puts a safe place. So you're in a room that you may not be your best friends, but they're people that you trust, and they're people that you have no problem sharing, not just your business problems, but we all have stuff that goes on in our personal and family lives. So it gives you a safe space to be able to talk about all those things. Because again, we're all human beings. And if I'm sometimes have some really bad stuff going on in my life, I bring that to my office and I can sometimes take it out on my employees. So recognizing that that's what I'm doing helps put things in perspective. And I come from a better place which can help me scale my business and grow and be a better leader and father and human.
Excellent. Thank you. That's impactful. What does it look like when you're done? You've been in business almost, it sounds like, from day one. What does it look like when you're done? Is this a run it part-time, go live on a beach, we put it up for sale. If you're willing to share, sometimes the person's questions are personable. Would you like to share and tell us what it looks like and what does it mean to be done for you?
Yeah, that's a great question because and it's a journey I've been working through myself. So, I think, and it'd be interesting to get the feedback of lots of entrepreneurs, but I think when you're an entrepreneur through and through, you never really want to be done. So, what it looks like for me is taking the knowledge and experience I've gained over the, past 35 years and 22 years of owning a business, and then sharing it with up and coming entrepreneurs. So, in my own business, because we're creating a structure and accountability and the benefits, living the benefits of putting in an operating system and having such an incredible team allows me to connect more in the business world in other ways. So, whether it be on the board of EO or on the regional board of EO, connecting with EO members in Edmonton and then across the globe, helping to spread the message on what Sunco is all about, but also my own personal brand message. But then I've connected to a couple of mentoring groups here in Edmonton, one called IMYEG, in the process of joining VMS, and then the Maji Center at NATE. So what they do is they take, I volunteer my time to help with other mentors, mentoring, pre-accelerators or businesses that have this really cool idea, technology, AI, health idea, some sort of innovation, but they don't know how to get it to market. They don't really understand business. They're a professor or a scientist, and they don't know how to identify who their ideal customer is, what their values is, who their vision, how do you get money, how do you finance, whatever it may be. So I love that, working with other mentors to help coach and guide and lead these small budding companies into success. And I've been doing that for about a year. So, when you ask the question, what do I see doing into my future? It would be more of that, helping, taking the knowledge that I've gained and the experience that I've gained and sharing it with new entrepreneurs. I think back to the value that my dad gave me, as a 17-year-old and riding with him for, till we bought the company at 31 or whatever that age was. I can't remember exactly. That knowledge was so impactful to my life, that his experience that he shared with me, and I want to do the same by giving back to entrepreneurs, young and old, that, can maybe share from some of my experiences.
Thank you. Fun question. Maybe. What's the biggest mistake that you're willing to share?
That's a really good question. The biggest mistake that I'm willing to share, there was lots of little stumbles. It would be a matter of not looking at myself sooner, right? So I can't point it down to one particular event, because any mistake I look as an opportunity for growth. So I've always been an eternal optimist. So no matter what happens, there's always learning in it, and I'll learn from it and grow. But waiting until I'm in my, mid to late 40s to understand that, being a busy beaver or a hurricane and coming in and try to solve everybody's problems doesn't really move the business forward. So the mistake I made was not embracing peacefulness, or letting, hiring people that are really good at their job and trusting them to do it, and, helping to coach and guide and lead instead of trying to tell and instruct and push, right? So kind of pull people to me rather than push my way to them, and understanding that, 80% of the way I do it is okay, as long as nobody's hurt. And, these learnings that you get, that over time, that the less I do, the more successful we are when you get the right people in it. And by being more mindful and thinking about, where is my time best spent, is something that I could have benefited from 20 years ago, even though I've had some good success over time.
Oh, that's fantastic. Now, from the surface, your business looks fun, easygoing. You're very relaxed. Your demeanor is great, very calm. But I've learned over the years, no matter what size the business, there's always a frustration of some kind. Most of them are self-imposed, because we're trying to do stuff we've never done before, or what we think is possible. What is your biggest frustration right now?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I'll answer it in the way that that I did the other question. We've got, by running EOS, it helps with the frustration. So there's always, we like to call issues in the business and issues in all the different departments. But by running EOS, it's given us the ability to identify the issues. So they have something called IDS. You identify the issue, you put it on the proper department. So if it's an operations issue, operations tries to discuss it and solve it. If it's, an admin or a finance issue, they try to fix it first. And if the departments can't fix it, then it becomes a leadership issue. And by running the structure and systems that we do as part of EOS, we have a 90-day pulse, meaning we have first of all, we take, where are we going to be in 10 years? Where are we going to be in 3 years? Where are we going to be in 1 year? And then we take that 1 year and we break it down into quarterly 90-day chunks. And by doing that, those big issues that you can't solve just as a long-term issue, and we break it down into small pieces. So by doing that, I don't really look as issues as stressful or overwhelming, because there's a place for them to go, either a long-term issue or a departmental issue or a leadership team issue. But we discuss it, we solve it. If it comes back, we didn't get to the root cause, so we got to do a little bit more work. We'll, identify it, discuss it, solve it another way, right? So by having that place, that it gives me a sense of calm.
Excellent. What one piece of advice would you share about growing or scaling a business?
Get a business coach, right? That's one major thing. Or, look into organizations in your area, organizations like the IMYG that can help, Pre-Accelerator if you're really small, or look at, if you're a student entrepreneur and you don't know where to go, look at colleges or universities that have business-based programs that you can apply to that help you decide to start. And then look at operating systems, right? It gives you a structure. I don't care what size your organization is, whether it be results that you do, whether it be EOS, just read, learn, and continue to grow. Never be afraid. I think it was Simon Sinek, and I actually have it on my wall here, and it's like, replace judgment with curiosity. And I love that, because I don't know what I don't know. So it's my job as a leader, as an entrepreneur, as a father, husband, to just ask questions and be curious, so that I can learn and fill in the gaps of what I don't know. So as an future entrepreneur, somebody looking into it, be curious, ask questions, learn from others that are more successful from you, and rinse, wash, repeat. Just be a sponge.
I love that saying, replace judgment with history. There's one on my wall too that has stuck with me, and someone shared with me in the last couple of years. You must be always willing to truly consider evidence that contradicts your own belief and admit possibility that you might be wrong. Intelligence isn't knowing everything, it's the ability to change everything you know. And I think it goes right along with that same ideology of replace judgment with curiosity.
Yeah, 100%. It's, and I did this the other day with my staff. I was looking back, and, we get frustrated because there's always things that you could do better, right? And, how often do we pause? And this is even from a parent. My son's 21 years old, and look back and see how far you've come. If I look back to, we've been talking about the entrepreneurial journey, 22 years ago is when we started. Bought the business from my dad from $15,000. We're now a $10 million company. Never in a million years would have said that we're going to be that size, right? So, sometimes you have to appreciate the joy at the start, right? You take time, turn around.
I don't know the answer to this question, but I'm dying. It just came to me. You mentioned what you paid for the company when you started it. How many times have you changed and reset the goal, and how many times has the vision gotten bigger?
Yeah, so up until we started EOS, we just kind of pulled a number out of our hat for, popular terms. I would normally use a different place, but and we typically found it and we typically made it. And but there really wasn't a whole lot of logic behind it. And by, EOS, part of the having the 90-day, the 1 year, and the 90 days lead to the 1 year, lead to the 3 year, and you have financial and metrics and things that, you would say, this means I've done and I've reached what I said I was going to do 3 years ago when I hit my 3 year. But you also do a 10-year target. And that 10-year target, or they call it a core target, ours was done 4 years ago. So we're 2027, or 5 years ago, August 31st, 2027. So we said 4 years ago that we're going to be a $20 million company by August 31st, 2027. At the time, we were about a $2 million company. Right. So even though we had no idea how we're going to get there, that was just setting the guidepost. And so by setting the guidepost, putting it on paper, and then working over time in that 90-day, 1 year, 3 year helps. It's kind of like that beacon in that lighthouse, that you keep going towards the lighthouse, even though you're not quite sure what the ocean's going to look like in between, but you know where you're headed. And by having that vision, you just somehow manage to get there. I can't tell you why, but it's crazy. It works.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. And I think I'm going to summarize that, because that's a great plug for once a business puts a system in place to follow with structure and a direction, it allows you to achieve goals better simply, but then also continue to stretch your thinking as to what's possible.
100%. Well said.
Fascinating. One last question, my favorite question, always save it for last. What do you want to be known for?
I would like to be known for my heart, really. I always come from a place of kindness and love, and I love sharing knowledge and experience. And I just want to, be known as somebody that was a good person and was comfortable sharing knowledge and experience.
Awesome. Thank you very much for your time. It's greatly appreciated. One last plug for your company, please.
Yeah, if you thank you very much, Sunco Communication and Solution Limited, www.sunco.ca. And if you want to make business communications easier for your company and it's confusing for you, then go to www.sunco.ca, and there's a contact us form, and tell a little bit about what we do. So happy to help.
Excellent. Thanks again for your time.